Hey, good morning and welcome to another new year, right? Another year of photography learning and training together. This is the Photography Guy. This is episode number 67 for Sunday, January 2015. I'm your host, Jack. Thanks for joining me here this morning to learn more about your camera and making great photographs. Please check out my website at thephotographyguy.net. Also, please, if you haven't done so over the holidays, make sure you use the Amazon link that you will find there to support the show. Also, you can comment on these shows, and I hope that you do so. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please check out my videos on YouTube. You'll find it at 42 Technoman. That's the number 4, the number 2 Technoman. Please visit our new learning site, and you can find it at jtclearning.com. Many of you have, and you will learn how to use Photoshop elements like a pro. Please join our Facebook group if you haven't done so already, and you can find that Facebook group at Jack's Tech Corner. All right, let me look over to the other screen here. We're going to say good morning to some folks in the chat room this morning. Good morning to Peter, Vicky, MC. See you in there this morning. Good morning to you also. Now today, I was talking to my wife this morning, and I said, look, they always say prior planning prevents bad performance. That's what they say, right? Well, I planned yesterday. I actually set up some equipment. I did some videos, and I thought, hey, today we'll be able to show you some live and living color video of the segments I recorded yesterday for you. So that's what we're going to be working on today. And obviously, if you looked at the title, you'll see that on that title, one of the main things on the title itself says, we're going to learn how to use flash photography today and eliminate shadows. I think that's so important because shadows are very disappointing when you take a picture of somebody. You take that picture and then, they don't have the shadow behind them. That's what you don't want. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. But first, I thought we would show you a little bit about how to set up a backdrop. And I'm going to talk about some inexpensive backdrops you can buy and set up where you don't have to buy a whole lot of gear. But then I'm also going to show you some gear that you may want to purchase. I mean, if you're in this business, you're in this business, right? So that's the main key here. So sometimes, and as the video will tell you, sometimes when you're in this business, you have to spend a little bit of money. I'm sure you've heard before, you got to spend money to make money. That's just the way life is. And I'm sure these videos will help you out there. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first one here because we have a really lengthy show today. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And then when I come back, I'll introduce another video, and then we have some live editing I want to do here, so I'm going to have to set that up and get that rolling also. So, and I'll get that in between the videos. So, all right, so enjoy this first one, and I'll talk to you real soon here. Keep chatting in the chat room. If you're not in there, you want to do so. One other note before I go into this is, I hope over the holiday season, I know somebody on the Facebook group said they got a new Wacom board or a bamboo tablet. Congratulations. You'll have many, many years of enjoyment with that. They're a wonderful, wonderful piece of gear. And if you got any other gear, please put it in the Facebook group or throw it in the chat room, and I'll shout it out there. If you got something else for Christmas for photography, I'd love to hear about it. So let's go ahead and get started here with setting up equipment. In this video, we're going to talk very simply about how to set up a white seamless backdrop. Now, I know a lot of you have never maybe ever used backdrops, but I thought it would be a great lesson today since it's pouring down rain outside. We can't get our cameras out anyway. You may want to actually shoot in your house and do some photography work. So again, my studio here is very, very small, and I bring people in, bring a client in, and I need a backdrop to shoot them on because we don't want to shoot them on a very busy wall like this one, right? It's a very busy wall. A lot of pictures on here, a lot of certificates and stuff. So we don't want to shoot them on that. What we want to take the pictures on is just a nice backdrop. Or, as you're going to see in another video I'm going to do, probably not in this segment, but we're going to be talking very soon again about green screens and how versatile they are and how nice they are to be able to drop any backdrop you want in there. So, but in this video, we're going to talk about setting up a backdrop stand and then putting the white seamless paper on. I'm going to show you a couple little tricks that I found to kind of help you along. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's pull this out a little bit here. So first thing you're going to need is obviously a backdrop stand. Now, these stands right here, mine is actually A little bit dusty. I've had it down for a while. But anyway, the stand here is not a normal light stand. A lot of people say the backdrop stand is obviously a light stand, but that's not true at all. This is actually a backdrop stand. They're very sturdy. And when you open these things up, all you got to do is turn the little knob on the side here. There's a little knob. And I picked this backdrop kit up at, I believe it was B&H Photo Video or Adorama, one of those. You open the legs up, as you can see, just like we would a light stand. And then it just sits right on the floor. Now here's your first little trick. Let's say, I'm going to try to zoom this out a little bit. Let's say that the stand is just too wide for where you're shooting. You can do little tricks with these stands. Here's one thing I found. You could take this stand and pull the legs up a little bit, and what it does, it takes less real estate. It will still sit just fine on the ground. And that's actually how we're going to be using these things. We're going to pull them down a little bit, and it just sits right on the ground. The next thing you're going to do is turn the little wing nut here on the side, and the little wing nut will turn, and you'll just extend your stand up. All right. Now we're just going to extend the stand up to about the height of my eyes, right where I can see it at. And then that's our first stand. So with your backdrop kit, you're going to get 2 stands and a cross beam. All right, let's go ahead and set this stand up over here. And then we're going to take our second stand. As I said, you're going to get 2 of these stands. We're going to open our wing nut up once again, pull this stand out, tighten the wing nut, and if it looks like it's a little bit wider actually than that one, we're going to pull it up just a little bit, make sure it stands good, and we're ready now. So now, again, we're going to loosen our little wing nut on the side, and we're going to raise our stand up right about to eye level, and we're going to lock her down. Now, why eye level? Obviously, we can't can't stand somebody in front of this if it's eye level, right? Because the backdrop's going to be below their neck. You're going to see that in just a minute, why it's important to start this way. Let's go ahead and move this backdrop stand over this side. And I had a table out there earlier. I was shooting some product shots. So we're going to move my table out of the way. And we'll put that right over there. We will put the backdrop stand over here. All right, so hopefully you can see both of those backdrop stands now. Let me see here if I can see it in the shot. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I can see both of those. The next thing you're going to have here is what's called the cross member. This is the cross member. It comes out, it just slides, and in the top, if you can see these here, in the top you can see right through there, and if you see it through there, that actually goes on top of that light stand. So let's put this on top of our light stand. Only one side right now, so we're going to take these little clamps off. We're going to talk about these in a minute. These little clamps you can find at Home Depot, any hardware store, just little spring clamps. Don't get these from a photography studio or a photography shop. And I'll tell you why. The main reason is they're going to cost you a fortune because they buy these things at hardware stores and then they quadruple the price. So you can buy a bag of multi-sizes and they just come in really, really handy. The next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take our top of our pole, just put it on top of our first section, and then we'll just sit it on the second section there, just like so. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to use our white seamless paper. Now the white seamless paper also, you can buy this from Adorama, you can buy it from B&H Photo Video. You can even find this stuff, it's a big roll. You can even find this stuff on eBay. The trick is, I mean, it's pure white paper. You can get gray, you can get black, you can get all kind of different color paper. So it's up to you what you want to buy. But make sure when you buy a roll of this stuff that it will fit in your studio. We bought one roll, I believe it's 109 inches. I think this one's, I don't know really what this one is here. This one might be 48 inches. But the 109-inch roll, we use that for senior pictures, and we actually rent a studio space. And I can tell you how to do that. It's very easy, and you'll be surprised how cheap you can get studio space. But you rent studio space, and we put up our 109-inch roll paper to do our senior pictures. Because we set up like a chair, we put the Letterman coat on it if they have one, pom-poms, footballs, basketball, whatever, to do those shots. So, but we're going to use the 48-inch roll in the house studio. Now, how do we put this onto there? Well, that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You're going to take off the one end and just simply guide it through the paper until it comes out the other side. So we've just guided it through the paper, and then we just hook this back on the other side. That's why you want this thing to be eye level. So we can stand here and hook these on. If you had it way up here and you're trying to hook it, you know, where it needs to be, you're gonna have a really, really hard time to try to get that set up. So here we had it at eye level. It was real easy. Now what we gotta do is extend the rods up, because we don't have to get to the top of it now. So we will go ahead again. And this time we're going to take the top wing nut. We're going to loosen that up. And don't worry if it slides down a little bit. That's okay. And pull it up just about to your ceiling. So we're almost at the ceiling level up there with our backdrop stands. And this one's going to be the same way. Actually loosen this up. And this is when you start to get it level. So you start to look at it and you'll get it level. Get it leveled up there, right about there. So there's our backdrop stands. Now, let me tell you a little secret about these backdrops. Especially if you're photographing kids, be extremely careful. You don't want this thing to tumble over on your kid sitting in front of your white paper. What I found was, believe it or not, I went on eBay and I started searching for, very simply, what was I searching for? I went on eBay and I was searching for something called photography sandbags, which you can find them. They're very pricey, so be careful. So what I did was, I actually went on Walmart's site and I said, how about ankle weights? So I bought, I think they're 10 or 15 pound ankle weights, 5 or 10 pounds, around 5 to 15, whatever you can find, 15 being the better. And I bought a set of ankle weights on eBay from Walmart for, it couldn't have been any more than $15 with shipping. Here's the big difference. If you buy the photography sandbags, you're going to have to also purchase sand and you have to fill them. If you buy the ankle weights, well, you also have them that you can go out and use those. Obviously, you can use those for walking around or walking around your house to lose weight. But it's also very nice. I put them over the legs of the backdrop stand, one on each leg, and it holds it more secure. So, and it works extremely, extremely well. It's a neat little trick. They are a tad bit heavy. I can tell you that. So, you know, it is just a little bit heavy. I'm just telling you where you get this backdrop out. It's a little heavy. Matter of fact, we took them when we did the senior shoot, and my wife went to pick them up out of the car, and she about fell over because she didn't realize that they were in the box I had them in. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and pour our seamless paper down. So all I got to do now is just center it up a little bit. I just grab it right here, and I just pull my seamless paper down. Just give it a good pull, and get a nice shot there with it. Nice seamless paper. This is where these little clamps really come in handy. To make sure your paper don't keep unraveling, what you want to do is get a good, clean, solid backdrop, and then take the clamp itself, and you're going to clamp it to the paper. I clamp it to the back, just like so. And I also have another one. I can clamp it to the other side. I'll clamp it up here just like so. Usually one is sufficient, but two is always nicer. So this is our white seamless paper. Very easy, very nice backdrop. Here's a couple little tricks when you're shooting with seamless paper. First, and we're going to do some, in the next video you're going to watch here, we're going to do a little bit of shooting, a little bit of photography. Since I set this up, I figure why not? We might as well go for it. First is, make sure your lighting is sufficient to light this thing. If you're using flash, be very careful because it's very easy to get a shadow. Now, the way you don't get a shadow on seamless paper is move your subject away from the paper itself. That way, when you're shooting your camera, you take the picture, the flash will hit the person, and it will drop off before it hits that white paper. If you have them too close, if you have your person standing here and they're looking at you and you're taking their photograph, and they're doing their masculine, shot like this, what's going to happen is the flash hits them and it travels right to that backdrop and you'll get a big shadow. I especially found this to be true if you're shooting, and we've done a lot of shooting videos before with my wife as a model. We had her in the studio. Is if you're shooting with that flash off to the left or off to the right and you're shooting in, you start to get those shadows coming across that paper. So you want to be very careful with that. Now, let's just talk for a minute. If you need a backdrop and you don't have white seamless paper, you don't want to spend the money for the backdrop stands, which invest the money. The stands I always buy medium range equipment. If you buy the cheap stands, they're really, really flimsy. They're made out of some cheap aluminum and they just don't feel solid when you put them up. These stands are mid-range. I mean, they probably set me back, I don't know what I paid for those, maybe like 60 to 80 bucks for the backdrop stand. The seamless paper will set you back probably about 20 bucks maybe. It depends on where you get it and what size you buy. But it's just a really nice backdrop. But let's say you can't afford it, or you're just doing a quick shot of something. You have somebody coming in your studio, especially if you just want to do headshots. This is extremely easy to do. So headshots, I would use, I put it behind the backdrop. That probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world. But anyway, so if I'm doing headshots, I buy foam core board. You can use this foam core board, and it's really cheap. It's $1 a sheet. If you break it, bend it, bust it up, so what? Go out and buy yourself a couple more sheets. You can take these things, if you have an extra light stand, I find it the best, and a clamp. And what we use the clamps for is we just clamp this to the light post, just like that on the top of it or something, and you get a really nice backdrop here. So if I'm doing a headshot, you can see where I can have this behind me. What's also nice is the foam core board also comes in white, many colors, and black. So if you want a black backdrop, you can use foam core board. It's cheap, it's inexpensive. A lot cheaper than this, but if you're doing full body shots, buy yourself a white seamless paper and a backdrop, okay? Sometimes you can even buy these as a kit, so you can get a whole kit together and buy them together. So just something to think about when you're purchasing gear. You're in this business for the long haul, right? So you might as well have the right equipment. I know it costs money, and I know, ask my wife, I've spent a ton of money on this stuff. But it's very rewarding also. So it's really rewarding to have that and to be able to do this stuff. So, all right. So my next video coming up, as I'm sure I'll tell you here after this one's over, since this is for our live show. The next video coming up, we're going to be talking about shooting a plant. We're going to actually I brought a flower into the studio. We're going to be shooting a flower in front of the white backdrop, just to get an idea for shooting, anything in front of a white backdrop. And I'm going to show you some of that. I'm going to try to show you some of the big shadows we can drop on this backdrop. And I'll also try to make it work and show you how to get a pure white backdrop by using light. So we'll try to do that next. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you here, and then I'm sure I'll introduce the next video. I'll see you there. Okay, so that was the backdrop there, the backdrop that you would use obviously to take some really great studio. Now a lot of people say studio itself. They talk about studio photography, and so many of my friends go, "Oh, Jack, I don't do that because I don't have a studio." I don't either. I have the computer room that I'm doing these shows from. This is more or less my broadcasting studio. But when I set the white backdrop up, it becomes a photography studio. So it's very, very simple to do. I do want to say hello to a new person in the chat room there, Jamie from California. Welcome to the show, and thank you very much for joining us here this morning. So I also showed you that foam core board. Foam core board is so versatile, and you can use it for so much, even using it as a reflector for outside. We've used them to reflect flash. When you put the flash on the left side or the right side of the face, and you put the foam core board up, you can actually bounce flash to the other side. We've used it when you use a beauty dish. We put a beauty dish over somebody, and you can hold it underneath the chin to kind of light the chin up a little bit just with a little reflective lighting. So for the money, the foam core board is very inexpensive, and it works extremely, extremely well. So it's just for a couple of bucks at your local. I think I bought that at a place called Michael's here in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't know if you have a Michael's where you live, but any hobby shop usually has those. Any kind of place where where you can do scrapbooking or whatever, they do sell foam core boards. So you don't have to buy it from the photography studios or the photo people. Because they're going to charge you an arm and a leg. And we can also talk one day about making a folding foam core board. Those are really nice also, where you put some reflective or duct tape on the back. You can actually fold those open. You can make trifolds, are usually the best. And you can set that behind somebody, and it works really nice for reflective lighting and hair lighting. So, but as I mentioned in the video, the stands that I purchased are not really inexpensive. They're nice to have. The seamless paper, and you can buy as much as you want. I mean, whatever kind you want, whatever fits, your studio. Make sure you look at the size before you buy it to know how long it is, and make sure you measure the place where you're going to put it to make sure it's going to fit. But the kits are very nice also, because the kits will come with paper, with the stands, and maybe even those sandbags I talked about. So there's a couple interesting things you can get there for it. So. Okay, so in this next video, we're going to start shooting pictures, and this is something that happens all the time. I watched a lady at a wedding, and I was just blown away. I told my wife, I said, she's going to have so many shadows. Oh, my God, why is she doing that? And my wife's like, shut up, just sit there, eat your dinner, because she knows I critique people's photography, just like people critique mine, I'm sure, and that's what we do as photographers. We look at something and go, oh, Lord. But she had a flash on top of the camera, and she kept turning her camera sideways. And when she turned it into the portrait mode, the flash was, laying sideways on the camera. So what happens there is when you have that type of a situation, remember this if you're ever out shooting something, and she had the people coming in the doorway to announce like the bride and the groom, and you know how they announced the wedding party, and she was snapping these pictures, and I could see the shadows blasting on the wall behind them. I can see it plain as day from where I was sitting. And sure enough, that bride is a friend of ours. Excuse me. And she said, well, she posted some of her pictures on Facebook, and I looked at them, and sure enough, there was all the shadows. So this video is going to help you to learn how to alleviate shadows, especially in a controlled environment like the studio. We're going to talk about that, and you're going to see how that works. So I think it's going to be kind of hitting home for you there. And if you're not in the chat room, jump in there, say good morning. Love to see you in there. We have a good many viewers this morning, and I appreciate that for this new year. Hopefully you follow the channel here and stick with us and learn each Sunday. I mean, we always bring up new photography topics, so we're going to be around for the long haul. We've been here doing this for a lot of years already, so we're still going on. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about shooting those non-shadowed pictures. That's what you want to do here now. Let me make sure this is going to work for us here. Okay, let's get rolling. Okay, now we're into that part of the video we talked about where we're going to be taking some pictures of some flowers, which you can see them sitting here. I'm not going to lower the camera down, but you can see them sitting here. Right there, you'll see the tops of them anyway, so that's good. We're going to be looking at the pictures anyway after I shoot these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a light meter reading, because the first shot I'm going to take is with the ambient light here. So I'm going to be shooting on manual mode, and I'm going to use my light meter just because it'll just speed up this whole process. Instead of me taking a shot, doing another shot, checking it out, we use a light meter so we can get proper exposure. Now, what we're going to do here with the light meter, first of all, is I have it set to ambient, and I'll let you look at this thing. Hopefully this will focus on this. Let's see here. Anyway, the ambient light meter is showing right over here. You can see the little dot there on the top. That's ambient. And all we're going to do is I'm going to hit the button on the side, and it's going to take a reading to tell me what it is. Now you can see that little ambient thing up on the side. And it'll tell me what the reading should be. I don't really want to shoot at 2.8 because I want the whole flower to be in focus, not a part of it. So we're going to change this to, we're going to try to set it at 4.5, maybe even 4. I'm going to try 4. And the ISO setting with no flash, remember no flash, I'm going to change my ISO to, we're going to jump this ISO up to, I don't know, we'll go 4,000. What we're going to do now is go by the plant. I'm going to hit the button again to see how much light it's actually getting. Now at 4,000, my shutter speed could be 1/60th. So I'm going to turn the ISO back a little bit. And I'm going to set it at 2,500, my ISO setting on my camera. And then what we're going to do here, so my camera itself is here. I'm going on manual mode, because that's what the light meter allows me to do, right? It allows me to shoot manual mode. The ISO setting we're going to set at 2,500. And my shutter speed is going to be 1/25th is my shutter speed. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to set the f-stop on 4. So everything's set up here on my light meter radio. I really love these light meters because it takes all the guesswork. We've talked about this 100 times. So I'm going to take this shot, and then we're going to look at it here. So I'm going to take this shot with the white backdrop without stepping on my microphone. All right. So hopefully now this shot will go in. There we go. So here's the first shot we just took. Now you can see from this shot that the background is really kind of a gray looking background. It's not real flattering. The flowers are kind of lit from the top, not really so much from the front, right? So we want to introduce some flash into this, a little bit of extra lighting into this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I know I'm going to set my ISO back down to 100, because now we're going to be using flash. And what I wanted to show you first is how we can create a shadow on this backdrop. So we're going to set up a light stand. And you folks have seen my light stands before. This is from my Westcott softbox. We're going to just open this light stand up, right like this. I don't want it that wide. We'll open this light stand up like this. And we're going to set this up. I'm going to try to actually demonstrate a shadow to you here, is what I'm hoping to do. Let's pull this stand up a little bit. And we're going to be putting a flash on here. And I'm using my flash triggers today. We're using our impact triggers again. You folks have seen these before. I love these triggers. They're very solid. We're going to put a flash on there. We're going to lock her on. I already got the flash set to 1/16th of a power. I figured that should be good enough for this demonstration. And we're just going to put this flash trigger into our light stand. And we're going to tighten her down there. Make sure she stays. Test it. Oh, that should work just fine. All right, so we tested the light. We're going to turn this on. I'm now going to take my meter, and I'm going to take this meter and turn it back on. But the mode, we're going to change the mode to flash. Single flash. We're changing our ISO back to 100. So there you have it. We're back on the flash, which is the next little meter over. And you can see the ISO, hopefully you see the ISO there is 100. And we still have a 125. I think that's going to change. The shutter speed is probably going to change. Now what we need to do is make sure our flash is firing with our trigger. So I'll push the little test button. Yep, it is. I'm going to hit the side of this, and when this meter starts to read, now it's telling me that the f-stop should be 5.0 and the shutter speed is going to be 1/25. So let's take a shot with this now. Then we're going to introduce next actually is the umbrella. So that'll be the next thing we're going to introduce to this thing. So we still have our handy dandy camera, hopefully hooked to our computer. Tethering is a bit of a trick, you know that. But we're tethered into Lightroom is how we're capturing these, so I can see these and talk to you about them as we're going along here. Okay. We're going to take a test shot. All right, so we have a test shot there. And there we go, we just wanted a test shot. Now let me get in close and we're going to focus on the flower. And we're going to take a shot. I'm going to show you something here. So we have the flash about, well, you can probably see the flash. It's about 4 feet away or so. Not even that, maybe 3 feet. And pointing pretty much directly at the backdrop. So, what we get now here, we're going to look at this picture, is you can see that harsh shadow on the backdrop. Now what you can see on that backdrop though, also with that harsh shadow, you can also see that the backdrop has become more white because we're introducing more light. But the way the light is set up, and it's casting that off shadow right off the back of that flower. So you're going to have to try to get rid of that. Now, like I said, I don't have enough room in the studio to pull that flower far enough out. I don't think anyway. So the flash will drop off of the backdrop. That's what we want it to do. But what I can do is we can get the flash more directly in front of the subject and have the shadow will fall right behind your subject. So it makes it more pleasing. We're going to see if we can set this up for you, this shot, to show you how to do that. So let me set my camera down here. We're going to move the flash behind me. And we're going to try to do this the best we can here. And I'm going to lower the flash down just a little bit, so I'm pointing the gun right at it, just like so. And now we're going to try to take another shot and just see if we can possibly get this to fall off. This has worked for me very well in the past. So let's see if we can get the shadow to fall right behind the flower this time. Again, this is just one light. And we're going to see if we can get this to fall off the back. So there's our next shot. Again, you can see it's darker, but you see now how the flash is falling behind. When we look at this picture, the flash is falling off behind it. Now, it became darker because we got the light moved back and we didn't take a new light reading. So if we take a new light reading, what's going to happen, you're going to see that we're going to have to make a couple changes here with our settings. Because anytime you move the distance of the light from the subject, you have to take a new meter reading. Let's turn this back on. And I can see the f-stop there has changed to 3.2. So let's shoot it again at 3.2. So we're going to change our f-stop on our camera. Again, we're doing this because we moved the light. So if your light stays constant, you can move your subject all around in a general area and not have to worry about it. All right, so go to 3.2, take a shot. All right. And you can see now there where it's a lot brighter. So that actually worked really well for us. Again, you can see that that picture here we're looking at, you can see that the overall view of the shadow is still there. All right, so it's still there because we have a straight head coming into this. So what I mean by straight head, if you look at this flash, we have the gun here, the head pointed directly at that light. So what we're going to do now, I think, is we are going to change this up a little bit, and we are going to add, a very cheap soft white umbrella. I don't want to show you the soft boxes in this particular video because this is how to take photos, you know, at a very low cost. So we shall put this in here. As soon as I get this in here, there we go. And all we're going to do now is we're going to point that head back down into the umbrella. And now we're going to shoot through the umbrella. All right, so we're going to shoot that light through the umbrella. So let me just move this over here again. All right. And we're going to raise this because I don't want my head to be in the way. So I'm going to be shooting under it. And, whoops, can't really have that there, can we? You can't see what's going on. So we're going to soften the light right about there, maybe. Yeah, I guess that's going to have to work. Try to get this over far enough. All right, so we're going to try that anyway. Now, the one thing we're going to have to do here, obviously, is do what? You're right. We got to take another light reading, another measurement here. So let me get my handy dandy trigger, and this is the Sekonic L358 light meter, and we still have it set on 125. We're going to try to get a light reading here now. And now it's telling me it's an f1.8. Now, there's a problem there. I don't have a 1.8 lens on my camera, so I really can't go to an f1.8. So we could either A, turn the power up on the flash, which would give us more light, because remember, I'm only at 1/16 right now. Or looking at the light meter, we can up the ISO. So let's do that. We're going to up the ISO to 400. So if I up the ISO to 400, take another light reading. What I get now is at 125 shutters, the shutter has stayed constant, we're now going to be shooting at 3.6, f-stop 3.6, but I got to turn my ISO up to 400 to make that work. So let's go ahead and do that. So the ISO is going to be at 400. The f-stop is going to be at 3.6, and we're going to add some light to this flower once again. Okay, I'm shooting the f-stop is going to be 3.5, all right, but the ISO is going to be 400. And let's see what we get out of this shot here. Now remember, this is with the umbrella, a white umbrella. Okay. I could tell just behind me that the light was really softened down. You can see there now where the light is softened down. And you can also see there where the shadows on the backdrop of that picture are almost null, right? The reason that is because we softened the light. We just made the light a lot softer. And what it does is it alleviates some of that shadow. So for, you know, a $10 umbrella on a, you know, you can buy a $10 light stand. You probably already have a flash, and even if it's a Yongnuo flash, that's great with these triggers. It'll work absolutely fine with these triggers. I love Yongnuo. Okay, so what I'm going to do now for my last trick here is the umbrella itself. We can either shoot through the umbrella, or we can shoot into an umbrella. Okay, what I mean by shooting into an umbrella is we're going to take it and tilt it up. All right, and when we tilt it up, instead of shooting through it, we're shooting into it, and we're reflecting that light back out. So what's going to happen? You're right, you're going to lose some light because you're hitting it and you're reflecting it out. We're going to lose light. Now, it does a couple things though. It makes it a wider pattern, right? We got a lot more light coming out than we had going through the umbrella because it's a more direct shot. But it's going to soften it, so it's going to make it so we need even more power. So what I'm going to do for this instance, since I'm standing here, we're going to raise this power, and we're going to go up to 1/8. 1/8 power. We were just shooting at 1/16, but we're going to go to 1/8. I'm going to take this umbrella, put it back behind us again here, just like so, and try to line it up again with my shot. Okay. And now the umbrella, you can't see this on this camera angle, and I'm sorry about that. Maybe one day I'll get another camera so we can see different angles. That might be coming up. Anyway, but so it's sitting behind the camcorder here right now, and we're about, from the flower, I would say probably at least 4, maybe 4.5 feet, so to the umbrella itself. So it looks like the angle is pretty good. I think we can live with that. But what do we have to do? Well, what do we have to do here to get this shot? Remember, we're shooting in manual mode. We're shooting in manual mode, and I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes how you can save a ton of money without buying a light meter. I like my light meter. I use it a lot, but if you don't have one, it's okay. So we're shooting in manual mode, and what we're going to do here is we're going to take another reading. And again, that's still showing me 3.6. Now I'm only getting 80% of power out of there. I'm getting 80% here. So there's 20% fall off between that light and here. So I can raise the power on there if I want to do so, or I can up my ISO ratings. So I can up the ISO, but we're going to leave it at 400 at 80 power, 80%. I'm going to just take another reading just to see what we're getting. and saying 3.6 again. So I'm going to try to take that ISO to 500. ISO 500, we can shoot at 4.0. So let's do that on this shot. ISO 500, f-stop 4.0, and our shutter speed has stayed constant throughout this whole video, and that's pretty cool. So I'm going to put my trigger back on. ISO setting at 500, and we're going to be shooting at f-stop of 4. And the lens today I'm using, if anybody's wondering, is the Sigma 24x70. If you are one of these people that say, I got to have a Canon 24-70 or I got to have a Nikon 24x70, then you have so much money in the bank that you probably don't even know what to do with it. The honest to God's truth is the Sigma lenses, the Tokina lenses are amazing lenses. I love them. I use them all the time. These people are not in this business to sell you junk, cheap stuff. This is not like just a Japanese or a Chinese company trying to sell you something, you know, from China. These are U.S. made. I mean, they're high quality lenses, and I would suggest them to anybody. Once again, this is the Sigma 24x70 f2.8. So we're going to shoot this at f4. The light is above me. We got it. The umbrella shooting into the umbrella this time. Now what you're going to see here now, let's look at this picture for a minute. This picture is amazing, right? This is the golden opportunity picture. This is the one we were looking for. And the reason is there's no shadow behind the picture. The backdrop turned very, very white. And I'm going to show you here in just a minute how we can do a little bit of post-processing on that. But the backdrop is solid white. It's very, very nice. So, you know, the lighting is perfect. The exposure is dead on. It's just a perfect shot. And all we used, again, very simply, was a $10 stand. You can have a $10 stand, you know, a $10 umbrella. Buy yourself a flash bracket, which is about another $10. That's $30. A set of triggers, and you know the triggers are what they are. I mean, these are really good triggers, but you can get a set of what they call eBay triggers, young Nuo triggers, and those triggers will cost you. And I have a set of those here too somewhere. That I've used a lot before I bought these ones. But the triggers themselves will cost you, you know, maybe 20 bucks. But folks, if you're in this for the long haul, if you're in it to make some money, and you've been watching me all these years saying, Jack, tell me what I need. Just tell me what I need to buy. You know, I'm trying to take the guesswork out. Ask my wife how much stuff I've purchased and never used it again. I've purchased stuff and sold it because it wasn't the right gear that I needed. I can have very basic gear and take beautiful photos of portraits, flowers, whatever. Again, this is for studio work, but one day we're going to be going outside here when it gets nice again, when the weather warms back up in the spring, and we're going to show you how to use these flashes and why you want to use these flashes outside, why it's so important to be able to have flashes. Now I'm going to show you one way you can do this and not have to have a light meter. Now you have to buy a better flash. You have to buy a Nikon flash or a Canon flash because you have to have their control system called TTL. This is the Young Nuo YN622N iTTL flash unit. If you can see that there. That's a flash unit. Now, what's different about these than my flash units I'm using is these ones, they come as a kit. They cost about 80 bucks. This is one of those things that my wife will tell you, I bought, and I buy these for the show. So I do buy these for the show. So when I asked you, if you're on the Facebook group on Jack's Tech Corner, and I say, hey, can you go over to my Patreon campaign and donate $5 or $3 a month for these shows? This is why. I bought these for the show, folks. These are $80. I don't use them anywhere else, but I use them for the show. And the reason I bought them is because I wanted to teach people how to use TTL, or through the lens metering. And you can do that with a cord. We're going to show you all the different setups here with TTL one day. But you can do it with a cord attached to your camera and flash. That's kind of clumsy. You could do it with the flash on the camera, but when you turn it to the side, you're going to get some major shadows. But if you want to use an umbrella, if you want to use a softbox, if you just want to use your flash on a stand, you need wireless triggers. And these will do it for $80. I mean, they're great little triggers. Once again, it's the YN622N. This is the set for Nikon, okay? This is the set for Nikon, but there's also a set for Canon to do its wireless trigger, or wirelessly be able to do through lens metering with your Canon camera. So I believe they make a set for Sony. Have to check that out if you have a Sony camera. But once again, remember, and I don't like to be that guy with that steel cup hanging out, like, you know, like somebody sitting on a street corner, like, give me a quarter, you know. But folks, it takes a lot of money to produce these shows. So once again, these are Young Nua flashes, and it's called Patreon. And there's a link. You can find a link on jackstechcorner.com, and you can find a link on thephotographyguy.net. So look for that link and make sure you donate. You know, even $2 every month for the whole year, $24 for all this learning. Really, that's pretty inexpensive. I've paid $1,000 before for an 8-hour class, so this is nothing. Very, very inexpensive. Or if you could donate more, by all means, $10 a month. That's only $120 a year. I mean, we throw that away on Starbucks coffee, right? So, and I would really appreciate that. Definitely help the shows out. So, all right. Anyway, so let's get back to Jack. I'm going to go back into the studio and sit with you, and we're going to look at some of these pictures once again. We're going to go over some of these different variations here and talk to you about those shots. And I'm going to show you how to whiten your backgrounds a little bit more in post-production. So I'll see you back in the studio. Okay, so there you have it. There's the shooting the white backdrop and how you would do that. So now what I'm going to show you, though, is in the actual editor, in the Photoshop Elements editor, how to make that backdrop even whiter overall. So this will help you along a little bit and show you how to whiten your backdrops if you don't get enough light on it, and if the the lighting's just not there for you. This will definitely help you out a little bit and be able to bring that photo and bring that more to life. So I'm going to show you a couple ways that we can do this. Let me go over to my desktop here, and let's see here. We're going to go desktop, main screen. Let me just recapture this area. Oh, we don't want that. All right, I'll be okay here in a minute. Hold on there. Let's just, so you can see the screen here. Let me get this adjusted for you. All right, there we go. And done selecting. Take that off. Okay, so here is one of those pictures, obviously, that I took yesterday when I was creating the videos for you. All that content there. So we are going to take this picture, and you can see the backdrop itself is still not probably as white as you want it. So there's a couple ways we can do this. The first way, obviously, is if you do a Command or Control J to duplicate your background layer. So your background layer is duplicated. Then you can simply go up to your adjustment layer, click on that. We go to levels, or no, we're going to go to brightness and contrast. And we can just raise this brightness up, and you can see where we can just bring that to make it even whiter in that background. But what it's doing, it's actually making the flower whiter too. So you're bringing the flower up with it, okay, at the same time. So what we may want to do, let's delete that layer. What you might want to do is first make a selection of, try to get the white selected. So let's go up to our selection tool. And we're going to try the magic wand tool and see how it does. And that's pretty good. I mean, obviously, we've got some of the flowers in there we'd have to clean up a little bit. Let me see where we're at here. Let me just see here. Like, we're going to add this down here. We don't want that. Raise the size up a little bit here. And we'll just take this here. So what I'm doing, though, is you just want to select the backdrop. Now, what's nice about when you're using just a clear back, or just a solid color backdrop, is it will allow you to remove the backdrop easier, right? Because it's a solid backdrop. And then we're going to be doing some green screening here again at some point to show you some of that. And I'm just looking around the flower here. It looks pretty good, and I know there's some place in there not selected. But now once you get that selected, you can do a Command or Control J. And now if you look here, we're just going to be working on the backdrop. All right, the flower is no longer in play here. And what that allows you to do is, like I showed you a few weeks ago, is we can do groupings. So now if I want to hit my brightness control, bring up my brightness, and I can group that using Command or Control G, I can just work on the backdrop without working on the flower itself. So you can see here now we can bring up the backdrop as much as you want without bringing the flower up. Now pay attention with your selections, because you're going to see here in the middle where that stuff wasn't selected, because I'm just doing a fast edit here. But you'd want to also select that stuff in the middle right there to actually change that out. Now it's really nice, as I said, when you're using a solid background, right, a solid color, is we can also take this, we can duplicate that layer itself, Command or Control J, and then what we can do is we can take that backdrop, let's shut this one off, and we're going to turn that brightness off, so we're going to delete that layer. What we're going to do now is take that, and we can change the background to whatever color you want. So all you have to do here is, if you go to your color palette, we can actually, well, you probably don't want it to be red. Maybe blue, something like that. I don't know. Let's see what that would look like. A little blue, and you can go to Edit, and you're going to fill the layer. So we're going to fill the layer with the foreground color. You can see it covers up everything, but if you grab that layer 1 up above it, you can see now where that background would be here. So wait, no, wrong one. Because what you needed to do here was to have this selection. You needed this selection here in here. So we only want to color this right here. So if we do a Command or Control G, you can see now where that flower will show up, because now that's grouping that background with just the background itself and not overlaying the top of it, but allows you to change the coloring. What you can do now is, if you create another layer, so let's create another new layer on top of that, and let's use a gradient. Everybody knows I like using gradients all the time, so I do use those. We can try something. I don't think that green or red will work, but maybe let's use a rainbow color here so we can see it happening, right? And we're just going to grab from one side down to the other. We're going to drop it. And again, we'll do a Command or Control G to group it, and we'll shut that blue off, and you can see now where you have a gradient backdrop. So it makes it very easy, and it makes it very nice to be able to do that, and you know, to work with your different backdrops and to change colors, and you know, you can have a ton of these. What I normally do when I work with clients is I'll have a lot of different layers on here, and I'll turn them on and turn them off until they find a backdrop that they really, really like, and then we'll go with that. So that's how we normally work it here, and it works really, really well. So I think it, you know, is the way it works there. So anyway, we're going to go back here now. I got a couple questions in the chat room, which is nice to see there this morning. Let me bring this back up, bring his camera up, and we'll bring this over here so I can read this. It says, this is from Jamie in California. Jack, do you have any videos on YouTube about Lightroom? I have Lightroom 11, and I just got Elements 13 for Christmas. I've been using Elements 11 before, and I've learned a lot, but I haven't done much in it. Now, I do have a Lightroom DVD available, and Lightroom 11? I would think it would be Lightroom. You probably have Lightroom 5. Is that right? Or Lightroom 6. I don't think they came out with 11. But anyway, maybe you had that mistake with the Elements 11. But I do have the Elements 13 videos up on jtclearning.com. You can go there. And Lightroom, I do have some videos on YouTube on Lightroom. If you go to my videos and search, you will find some videos on Lightroom that I used to introduce Lightroom a little bit to you. So anyway, No, that's okay, Jamie. Don't be sorry. I'm just throwing that out there because I didn't hear of Lightroom 11. I thought maybe I missed one. That's okay. Yeah, I get confused too. Don't worry about that. And yeah, Jake is right. Jamie, just go to 42 Techno Man and search for Lightroom. There is some videos out there. I don't know the exact links for those. And Peter, thank you very much. And I did have a DVD on Lightroom. I don't know if it's still available. You can check that out. If you go to jackstechcorner.com, you can see on there if that DVD is still available, because that was actually version 4. So, you know, the thing with software, folks, you know, software changes and Elements, unfortunately, it changes every single October. And I buy the new Elements and I start learning it. But sometimes I have to recreate the videos. And a lot of people don't understand that if you know Elements 11 and 12, you're probably going to be okay with Elements 13. There's really not, there's a couple new tools, but it's not a whole new thing. But the thing is with me, people aren't going to buy Elements 13 and take one of my Elements 10 classes. That just doesn't happen. So each year I buy the new version and I create the new videos. I didn't do one on Lightroom. The Lightroom videos never really seemed to take off, so I really didn't go that path. I try to stay on the path of Photoshop Elements, because it's what I know the most and what I love. I do use Lightroom. I use Lightroom for my organizer and manager. I also use Lightroom for quick touches of raw photos. I do that all the time, and those raw photos are basically my NEF files from my Nikon camera, because you can just do so much in it, right? You can do exposure settings. You can clean up a little certain things. I mean, you're not going to do any fancy backdrop changing or anything like that, but Lightroom is just a really great tool. And Jamie, congratulations, because if you have both of those, you have the kit that you need to do any photography editing you want. You use Lightroom, get your pictures in there first, clean them up a little bit, and do your big editing in Photoshop Elements, and you have everything you need in your digital toolkit. So hopefully, Jamie, you do follow this channel for next Sunday here, and everybody else on the channel. I do appreciate you being here with me. We are going to go here. Thanks very much for tuning into the show. I hope everybody's having a great new year. You got to get that camera out there. I told wife the other day, hey, I want to do the 365 challenge. She said, what's that? I said, every day you take a picture. Is it 365? 352? Whatever. Anyway, every day you take a picture and you post it on your website. Well, today is January 4th, and the only pictures I took was yesterday for the show. So again, I failed miserably. And I thought last week we took the camcorder, and I thought every day I'm going to record video. I'm going to record a video every day, even just me saying hi or good morning or whatever. Well, that terribly failed also, because today's January 4th and I have no videos except what I shot yesterday. So, hey, that happens. Thanks everybody for tuning in this morning to the show. If you're downloading this again from iTunes, you please watch us and subscribe to my YouTube videos at 42 Technoman. As I mentioned on the show, I still have the DVDs available. You can find those at jackstechcorner.com. I actually sold one the other day. But what people are tending to do more is you want to learn more online. You want to learn it fresh and all the time. So if you go to jtclearning.com, you can actually sign up there for the Photoshop Elements. I call it a course, but it's basically the videos online. Now, why that is nice, because as I add videos, you get those videos for free for Photoshop Elements, whatever version you're learning. Where if you buy the DVD, once I send that package to your house, I can't add anything to it. So, but either way, if you don't have high-speed internet and you have to buy the DVD, they're still very, very good. All the videos are there. You can sign up, though, today for Photoshop Elements 12 or 13 at jtclearning.com. At the top of the page, click on Courses and then Photography. Or I also learned if you just click on Courses, it'll take you right to the page with all the courses available. Once again, that's jtclearning.com. Folks, take care. I hope you have a wonderful work week. I know a lot of us are just going back to work. You're just getting restarted there after the holiday breaks you might have had. With the Christmas and with New Year's. But remember, more than anything in the world, keep those shutters clicking. Keep your editors editing. And I'll see you back here next week on The Photography Guy. Thank you so much. I'll see you then. Bye for now.